National Scholarship Providers Association would like to thank the National Society of High School Scholars for their membership and support.
Hello, my name is James Lewis, President of the National Society of High School Scholars. We're excited about being here today and excited to be here with my colleague, Karen Kane. She's the Scholarships and Communications Director for NSHSS and also the Executive Director of the NSHSS Foundation. We're thrilled to be here to share the most current data, the most current research on preferences, goals of these outstanding young high school and college students. And we felt it's really important to get together, share this data with the NSPA family to help, I guess, further explore the needs and desires of these young people. We all want to help these young scholars be the best they can be. And in order for us to do so, it's critical to understand their needs and their desires. So we're proud, this is our 13th edition of our career interest survey that we have published. And it's really exciting to understand their perceptions, how we as an entity and how you as scholarship providers can provide directions and resource and help you build your strategies on how you can impact this next generation. So we're very excited about being here and understanding what we can do to better communicate the needs, desires of these young, outstanding folks that you all want to work with and connect with. But Karen, what were some of the main takeaways that you found when you looked at this research?
We're going to step through some of the main takeaways, but really the themes shaping Gen Z's decision-making have everything to do with the economic uncertainty of the world. They're very focused on politics and having a purpose in life. And we see a trend every year increasing towards career and college major interests in technology and STEM careers. And we're going to step through a little bit about how these things relate to their top employers of choice, top colleges, their plans for graduate school, and hopefully have a better understanding at the end of how us as scholarship providers can have our dollars go towards, the best end. Thrilled to be here, and Jim, you want to talk a little bit about NSHSS for those who don't know us?
Sure. We're an honor society that recognizes outstanding, high-achieving, diverse students. The society has 1.7 million members, which is amazing, across 170 countries. And this includes students from 26,000 different high schools. And when a student joins NSHSS, it's a lifetime opportunity. They're recognized in high school, but they can be involved in college and beyond. So it's a great way to stay connected, to have a network of fellows and students that feel the same way you do, that are passionate about academics and want to give back. NSHSS and our partners have awarded over $2 million annually to our student members, which is exciting. And we've got world-class university, corporate, and educational partners that will provide opportunities beyond just a recognition to our students.
At a glance, Jim mentioned that we give out scholarships, which I'm happy to oversee, and it's probably the best part of my job is giving away money. I'm sure you all feel the same way about it. We also have a whole series of free webinars. We have events. Right now they're virtual, but we also have had in-person events with college individuals and our members and their parents coming together for college fairs. We also offer, through our partners, internship opportunities, study abroad opportunities, and exposure to universities around the world, as well as some discounted opportunities for people along their college, from high school to college career.
Oh, awesome. And Karen, I know that you had prepared a little video that sort of summarizes the key components, but if we could please share this with you, and then we'll be just jumping right into it.
Yeah, this is a summary of our survey data. that was a quick, very fast overview of the stats, and we'll be going into those details a little bit more, but we surveyed 14,000 students. They were in high school, college, and post-college, and asked them about their education, their career aspirations, and how they feel about civic involvement. Oops, there we go.
Yeah, and Karen, when you look at this, it's interesting because the survey was done March 17th through April 7th. So COVID was here. People were aware of it. So when you think about the most current research and perceptions on young people, we're excited about looking at their preferences, their attitudes, and how things are shifting. And it's probably shifted even more since the survey, but it's exciting to have these results from a diverse population. When you mentioned 14,000 high school and college age students, if I remember correctly, I think the average GPA from these students is a 3.72.
That's right.
So that's amazing. So not only are these great students, but they're proven academically. These are the young leaders that we want to not only recognize, but help them, achieve their dreams. We have every ethnicity represented. And when you look at this slide here, those that were involved in the survey, 43% were white, which is around 57% were non-white.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really proud that this represents, a diverse population of students, and an opportunity to recognize them, understand them. And I can't remember the exact percentage, but I know it's over 20% of first generation. Is that correct?
I believe there's a slide on that. It's 24. Okay. I believe it's 24%.
First generation, that's great. And what was the methodology?
Well, this slide shows the breakdown between male and female, and our membership skews a little higher female, so that's probably one of the reasons why there were way more females answering this survey.
Yeah, and I believe too, Karen, that there's a lot more females attending college.
That's correct.
These days. So this is reflective in that. Very interesting.
And our membership is mostly high school, and so that also, the respondents were 72% high school age and 23 college and some post-college. And you did mention COVID. The survey was created before COVID, but it was still active when it hit in March and April. So it's interesting to see how the results, may have been influenced by that. 4 key themes emerged: economic uncertainty because of COVID and the Great Recession, and the world that this generation has grown up in. They want to be catalysts for change. They really want to learn by doing, hands-on, and STEM and medicine as an ongoing theme that we see.
Yeah, and Karen, when you mentioned there's 4 main themes, it's interesting because these are probably the themes that NSPA members and their families are talking about at the kitchen table. And it's amazing, how these themes, once we can understand them and knowing that there's 4 that they're focusing on, the ability to communicate and understand this most difficult situation. And then the first one is the economic uncertainty. You mentioned the recession. The recession, was 2007, 2008. So when you think about how that may have impacted a young person growing up, and their parents may have lost their job, and the ability to, make that payment for rent or their mortgages. So at a young age, these students had an uncertain future if the economy was in not a free fall, but I remember those days. It was very difficult for so many families. And then when you think about now, when they're taking the survey, there's even more economic uncertainty involved with so many issues related to that. And the student debt crisis, the opportunity to understand, it's getting more and more expensive for college education, and these students are looking for ways to pay. And we all know that an education will help lift students out of poverty, provide them a bright future, but we need to help them secure funding for that. And with the pandemic and uncertainty comes other emotional challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So this economic uncertainty that we're all facing right now, even our own budgets and activities that we're focused on, university enrollments, we're all sort of in the same period of reflection and changes and being nimble. But when you think about that one, how those students pay for college, through the research, we found that 90% of these students are seeking scholarships to help fund their education, which surprised me. Huge number. They've got the need, they're looking, they're aggressively. So organizations like NSPA that are providing these resources are remarkable.
One of the interesting things too is that the red bar at the top is the high school respondents, and that's their expectations. 90% expect to fund their education with scholarships, or at least partially, but the college age, the gold bar, the reality is that only 78% are getting those scholarships. So there's an unmet need and an opportunity for all of us.
Absolutely. And then 48% expect to have more than $10,000 in student loan debt. And with the higher cost of education, that's just going to continue to go up. 65% are expected to have a job while in college. When you think about working and being in college and the higher cost, and now not being able to work potentially because of the pandemic, that's going to have even a more profound impact.
Right.
When you're talking about economic uncertainty, 84% of the respondents expect to find a job, and here's a key thing, within 1 year of graduation. So they're not expecting to get something right out of college. So you have the cost of college, you have the cost of living.
And they're expecting to live at home.
Yeah.
When they begin their first job.
So moms and dads, be ready.
Look out.
I
have 2 daughters in college, so I better prepare for that.
Yeah, you can't change their bedrooms. They're going to be expecting you to come back, which is great, because we do have more family time as a result of all this craziness. But when you think about the profound impacts, it's something that is not going to just be a challenge now, but into the future. And there are some bright spots where you get to spend some more time with your children, and you'll be able to spend more time with your children. But when you think about education, and I know one of the stats here, one thing that was curious is that these students are saying that they expect not to go to graduate school at the rates they were going to. So it was 76% in 2018, and that's dropped significantly to 62% of our respondents were expecting to go to graduate school.
Yeah, and that just speaks back to the worry that these students have about being able to pay their bills, and they want to get into the job market sooner.
Yeah, the cost benefit.
Right.
When you think about a graduate program, if they've got heavy debt for undergrad and the ability to pay for graduate school, and even their selection of the university, the benefit cost. I've never seen such value in discussions with these young people. Should I go to college? Which college should I go to? Which major? So it's fascinating to better understand their preferences and attitudes.
Yeah, the other thing we see is that these students really want to make a difference in the world, and they said a full 3/4 expect to be involved in politics and activism. 91%, it was mentioned in the video too, are registered to vote, and those who are registered plan to vote in the 2020 election. So they're paying attention to the world around them in levels that is increasing year to year.
Yeah, and when you look at the issues that are important to them, human rights, healthcare, education, the environment, bullying, violence, prevention, social justice. It's fascinating on a relative basis when you look at these numbers to see where their priorities are. Top of the list is human rights, which is great. And, this is our 13th survey, so the ability to look at that over time and see how some of these variables have shifted. When you think about the environment and, as we have more and more wildfires and raising sea levels, the students are really focusing on what they need to do to make a change. And given the pandemic, the opportunity to get back in a medical career of some capacity.
Yeah, and one of the things that they said is important to them when they look at how they're going to spend their career, they want on-the-job training. And 74% have already or expect to participate in an internship. So whereas maybe attending graduate school isn't as viable for them or isn't top of mind, they expect their employers to give them on-the-job training that's going to build their skill level, and they're doing that through internships and through their first jobs.
Yeah, and Karen, when I think about that, I'm fascinated because, this Gen Z is the first internet generation. These young people grew up with all the answers at their fingertips.
Right.
This new gig economy that we're in, what is it that these kids, they need? What are the resources? And they're coming into the workplace, and you have people that are hiring them and people that are managing them and people that want to retain their talent. How do they stay connected with this odd group of Gen Zs that have a whole different set of values and attitudes towards life? I'm not the best in technology. Sometimes I'm intimidated by it, but when you have this young, brilliant workforce going into college now and going into the workplace that grew up with all these fascinating resources, and how it's impacting them and their values is fascinating as well.
It's also interesting, the data from this survey show that although they're digital natives, they crave the person-to-person connections. And when they go to look for a job or they're doing research about colleges, they're still trending towards the more traditional forms of communication, email and researching on websites versus direct messaging or social media for doing that deep research. But the person-to-person communication, they're turning towards their parents, their peers, their college counselors, their trusted, pals for advice. And then the medicine and STEM career, college major and career aspirations are something we've been seeing. This is the 13th year we've done the survey, and that trend has been going up and up. And we're seeing that, hospitals are in the top 3 spots in terms of the most desired employers, science and engineering careers, and that trend actually is even more pronounced in women and women of color for those career choices.
And I'm glad we were able to document that, because I think that's significant when universities and scholarship providers are looking to provide assistance. And if we know that these trends are available and can share it with our colleagues, it's critical as they start looking at their long-term goals, which is great. And when you think about health and medicine, I know the students today with their value system want to give back. They want to contribute. And with all the health-related issues, it's fascinating that we are seeing and documenting that this is coming true. and it will probably be more pronounced over the next few years. As students lose a family member or a grandparent, mother or father, they're going to want to be more involved in medicine, which could help, I guess, innovate and allow more creativity in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
And with technology and medicine, the advances that could be made could be very profound.
It's exactly true. The scholarship applications that we see that have the most heart and the most passion behind them are often because the student's grandparent has experienced something, and so they're innovating and creating patented new technologies to overcome some personal tragedy that's happened in their family. So we kind of went over this. We also saw, in terms of government careers, the CIA had been one of the top career choices.
And it still is. But the CDC, and again, that health medicine component. But I'm really impressed too with the interest within the NSHSS community, these diverse scholars, that they want to give back in public service. Mm-hmm. So it could be medicine, science, engineering, but when you think about protecting the common good, that they want to be a good citizen, and we're seeing a lot of interest in the CIA, the FBI, local police. So giving back to community is an important value that we've been able to document.
So we asked students where they wanted to go to school, and the list is 100 universities long. You can see the full list in the survey, which is on our website. But these are the top universities of choice for this group of respondents. And one of the things that I think stands out a little bit is the trend towards big state schools. And I think we also saw that the Northeast schools in the Northeast no longer dominated the results. So that's a trend we've seen over time.
Yeah, and I was fascinated by the list. They're diverse type of institutions. So, students historically may have a perception of where they want to go study, but given the current times, this most current list, the top 10, represents diversity. You list, UCLA number 1. The opportunity to look down Harvard is number 4, Stanford number 5. So we've got the Ivies, but the public institutions, number 9, University of Central Florida. That surprises me, but it's a great public institution, and I know the cost to go there is affordable for a lot of families. So excited about seeing this list in this particular order, and we hope that as you can look at the top 10, I think in the full survey we have the top 100 you mentioned. So, if you are representing a university here at the conference, please go check that out on our website, nshss.org. And is it under publications? Is that the section?
The survey is under
About Us?
/about.
Okay.
And then the career survey, you can download the whole thing.
Great.
And we also asked them where they wanted to work, and the top 4 or 5 were shown in the video before. But again, we have the top 100 employers of choice in the full survey. And I'm wondering if there were any surprises here. Local hospitals dominating the top.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. But it's interesting because, Karen, when we first started doing the career interest survey years ago, it was a focus on helping companies better understand this generation. Now it's Generation Z. And that's still our focus and purpose. But we have found over the years that this information, sharing it with our government partners, with our university partners, with the general public, to better understand the attitudes of young people, what they want to do with their careers, and how we can and others can help them achieve their dreams. And employers want to identify and recruit and retain the best talent. Mm-hmm. So if there's a disconnect between the entity, the organization, the employer, and the employees, it's not going to be good for the employees or the employer. So the more understanding of their attitudes, their needs, their desires, and how companies and universities can assist in better understanding and better communicating with this group is really critical.
Right, so a couple of details that are in the full survey report. 75% said health insurance was more important than salary.
I thought that was fascinating.
And also flexible work environment was also very, very important.
Yeah, and Karen, when we put the question out there in spring, flexible work hours and the home-life balance, I had one definition. Now, it's got a completely different definition. So, I'm curious with our next year's survey, we'll have to do a deeper dive into what does it mean, when you're talking about flexibility and working from home, as we're all questioning, what the future will be for all of us. So,
another data point that came out was that students really care that the employers that they're looking at care about social justice issues. They want to know that they're egalitarian and that they have fair employment practices and that they have women and BIPOC people in positions of leadership. So they're looking very, very critically at their potential employers.
Yeah, because if they're choosing one or the other, because a lot of these students will have multiple offers. Right. And if entities know these are the important value points that will help an outstanding candidate come and join them and actually stay with the firm, that's very, very critical.
Right. So what does all this mean for scholarship providers?
Good question.
We as the scholarship provider have been collecting this data and responding to it for years. And, so we've tried to craft our scholarship offerings based on the data. So our STEAM and STEM scholarships are probably our most applied for offers. The ones that we've just launched in the last year or so around activism and advocacy, around future female leaders, those are a direct response to what we know that the students want. And we also have an educator grant for STEAM educators as well.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the John Lewis scholarship for the Good Trouble, or what is that?
The John Lewis Good Trouble scholarship
Good Trouble
we just launched.
So we're encouraging a lot of folks to get out there and get into good trouble. But it's great to, as you mentioned, look at the data, see the needs, and then develop scholarships around what their personal passions are.
We didn't launch the Why Vote Scholarship until about a month ago. And I think we were probably a little behind the eight ball thinking of that. But, we realized, oh my gosh, even though many of our students are not even voting age yet, they're already out there, polling, doing census work and making sure that all of their family members are registered to vote and they care. So we've got an open scholarship for
which is a shift for American culture. When you see the young people so active in this component of voting and wanting to be involved in the process early on, that's exciting to see.
Yeah. And our Be More fund is another new one. We have a $100,000 fund, and we're giving $10,000 awards to either high school, college, or people out in the career world. It's also open to educators, and it's around the theme of world betterment. So anyone with an innovative business idea, a prototype for a technical innovation, a nonprofit that is focused on world betterment should apply.
Absolutely.
So the takeaways from what we've gone through, Gen Z's worldview, obviously shaped by economic uncertainty, politics and purpose, technology and STEM, and we're seeing that dichotomy between optimism and uncertainty that was shown in the data. Their top employers of choice, which you can see the full results of online, and how we all as scholarship providers can better support the desires through scholarship. And again, I see, put this chart in again to show the opportunity, the expectation that these students are going to have scholarship money in their back pocket, and then the reality that it's less than they really need. So we're all doing great work, and there's opportunity there to do even more. If you'd like to learn more about NSHSS, if you've got questions about the survey, or can see partnership opportunities, our partnership person, Carly Grands, would love to talk to any of you.
No, absolutely, because we have hundreds of thousands of great students that are looking for scholarships. So if there's any NSPA members that need help promoting the good work you're already doing, we'd love to help you in your strategic move to build and create more scholarships or promote the scholarships that you currently have. And it's a pleasure to be a member of NSPA. And gosh, I had the opportunity to go to, I think it was either the second or third annual meeting of NSPA. And time goes by so quickly, but great folks, a great organization. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for taking time to share our data. If you have any other questions, Karen and I are always available as well. Look forward to connecting with you, and want to wish you all the happiness and health, for you, your associations, and your families. Take good care, and best wishes.
Thank you.
Hi, so thank you everybody for watching our presentation. I am here. Unfortunately, Jim Lewis had a conflict, so he wasn't able to join for the Q&A session, but I'm happy to answer any questions that come through the chat. I have my colleague Abby Duke with me on the Pathable chat as well, answering questions that come through. Let's see. And we also, yes, we created a resource page in the files area of the Pathable site. You can download the presentation and our takeaway document, and also the full survey, as mentioned, is available on our website if you'd like to see a little bit more of the breakdown of the data and the analysis behind it. Let's see. Just looking at questions. I'm hoping. Yeah. Someone had a question about our Why Vote scholarship. I believe that might have, we've extended the deadline for that, and we're surprisingly, even though a lot of our members are in high school and not even of voting age, we have lots who are activism and advocates for voting awareness. And so we opened up a scholarship to celebrate students who are doing things around this election cycle, and hope to continue that next year as well. And because, voting isn't just every 4 years, and the voter awareness efforts of our students have been really amazing. So we're hoping to celebrate that with a scholarship. Just looking over at the questions. Were there any open? survey had mostly, drop down questions. There might have been a couple of questions where they had to write in answers, but for the most part, it was, multiple choice. It was a fairly extensive survey. I think depending on what path you took through it, there were something like 50 or more questions. So it was a significant time commitment, at least, 10 or 15 minutes for people to go through the whole thing. And I think because we had 14,000 respondents that, that speaks pretty well, because it did require some attention. Just looking over, are you noticing trends in school choice and careers that students are pursuing now pre-COVID versus now? Yeah, well, one of the things we did notice, so the survey questions were created before COVID, but the survey was open right at the beginning of the pandemic. So from April 17th to March 7th, I believe. And so we did feel like we were capturing, some of the sentiment of what students were feeling with the oncoming of this COVID pandemic. In terms of the trends of school choice, we did notice many more state schools, large state schools rising up in the rankings of top schools of choice, and no longer the dominance of the Northeast schools. So I know one comment was made about the top employers of choice being local hospitals, showing a trend towards people wanting to stay local, wanting to give back to their community. And it'll be interesting that may be a trend in school choice as well. I don't know if anybody has any other questions that I haven't answered. Let me just see. Yes, we had 14,500 survey respondents. And again, the survey went out to our membership, and the NSHSS general membership includes 1.7 million members. We have several 100,000 members in high school and another several 100,000 current members in college. And our membership is a lifetime membership, so we're working on really building that network of membership and the connections between our high school, our college, and our career membership. I know that alumni network is something that we're all working hard on trying to reinforce. One of the things that we have open right now is the Be More Fund. We've dedicated a $100,000 fund to award $10,000 scholarships to either high school, college, career individuals, or educators are also open to apply. And the topic is anyone who has contributed to world betterment. So if you have a prototype, an innovation, a nonprofit that is contributing to world betterment, you're welcome to apply. And we're going to have a 2-day kind of a Shark Tank-like judged event in November to pick the winners of that seed money. So we're excited about that. And as was mentioned, I think, one of the things we've tried to do during the pandemic is be responsive to the needs. So we had an emergency relief fund open up to help out a little bit. And we also opened up some additional social justice type content and scholarships. We have the John Lewis Good Trouble Scholarship. We had an activism and advocacy scholarship, and also the Why Vote, which was mentioned. And then just in terms of the preferences of our students, our STEM and STEAM related scholarships are always our most applied for, and it just matches, you know, where we see the students putting their attention, and that's where they want to pursue those STEM careers. And so we're trying to, you know, offer the scholarships in that area. There's also our How to Be an Advocate webinar. And so you can, all of our webinars and past recordings are on our website. You can go back and look at all of the free webinars that we offer, and we have new ones opening up all the time for students and parents and educators. What type of awards were our emergency relief funds? We did a fairly short window of time where we were awarding in the spring our enrolled college students with just $200 emergency relief funds to help them with whatever they needed it for, to pay rent, to buy food, to help their families out. So we had a really large response to that. We had to close it when our funding ran out, but that was just, you know, I feel like our organization was nimble enough to be able to do that quickly. And, you know, we're looking at possibly doing more of that in our next scholarship cycles. So the Emergency Relief Fund, I believe we awarded, I know it was, I think it was 25 students. It might have been more than that. I'd have to go back. It might have been 50 students. I'd have to go back and look. Abby, thank you, Abby. It was 50. Let's see. We are, I'm just looking to see, popping between Zoom and the Pathable chat to see if there are any other questions. If anybody has any other questions, Abby and I would be happy to chime in, either in the text or online, and we'd also be happy to follow up with anyone after the event if you'd like. Oh, one of the things I did want to mention, I really enjoyed Heather McGowan's keynote speech, and I felt like her whole theme, it used to be learn to work, and now it's work to learn. The data in our survey said the exact same thing. Students are expecting to get a job, and that they expect that job to help them build their skills for their career. So I kind of liked that full circle tie into this conference. Really super appreciate NSPA for putting on such a fabulous conference. And thank you, Erica, for hosting this. I'm just looking, Erica says, we've been running an emergency fund at Thurgood Marshall. Yeah, I'd be happy to chat with anybody about how we ran that fund and any other of our scholarships. We have 40 to 60 different programs for students and educators every year. We also have the NSHSS Foundation, our 501c3, and I'm always looking for support to launch new initiatives through our foundation as well. Fantastic. I love to see the connections. Let's see. If no one has any more questions, again, happy to follow up once you take a look at the full survey results. And if anybody has any questions, we do these surveys every year or every other year. And it'll be interesting to see how we shift the question set based on the climate in the world today. If anybody has suggestions on questions that you'd like to have put in a survey like this, we'd be more than happy to entertain those. Thank you all. I appreciate it. I think I can give you back 10 minutes of your day.